Hey guys, so we've talked about 60% of the grammar sections are grammar questions, 40% are rhetoric questions. I'm going to take you through a bunch of different types of rhetoric questions. We've already talked about one, which is the rhetoric underline the key phrase question. Now let me introduce you to some others. So let's scroll through this test. Let's see what we find. All right, question 6. Question 6 is kind of a one-off, actually. We don't have to hit it right now. We'll get into something similar to it in a second. Let's look at question 9. Question 9 is a transitions question. So there's no grammar rule at play here. It's rhetoric. It's just which of these words would be most logical way to write this story. So on a transition question, what you want to do, and you're going to notice it's a transition question because all the answers are like, however, therefore, as a result. It's like very obviously transition-y words. It's always right at the almost always right at the start of the sentence, maybe halfway there, but usually right at the start of the sentence. So we got a transitions question here. So what you want to do is you want to cross out the transition with your pen or pencil, and then you're going to read enough above and below to put your own word in. And as always, we are covering the answers. So you're going to do this with your hand while you take the test. Use that little box while we're on the Zoom screen here. So I'm going to cover the answers, and we're going to cross out the transition in the passage. We're going to read enough above and below to put our own word in that could work here. So let's try it here. In one shot, my young grandparents stood at crates filled with ripe fruit, and my mother sat on a branch peering down at the camera. They floated above me, not like ancestral ghosts, but physical and alive. My mother's stories came to mind. I recalled her description of the long hard hours spent working in the migrant camps on the beach and never got a picture of her skin. I actually go with no transition here. I definitely don't like yet. I don't think this is a yet. There's no sort of contrast being set up here. So, got my prediction. Now let's check the answers. Yeah, I like D. No transition word. Instead, besides, those are like setting up a counterpoint. Like instead, my mother's story. No. Besides, no. So I'll introduce to you for transition questions. Good to know. 3 types of transitions. There are the continuers, like also, moreover, for example, and it's just continuing the point previously made. Contrasters, like however, but, nonetheless is a subtle contraster. And obviously, yet, they're setting up like we're going to turn the other way with whatever we say next. You know, I'm hungry, yet I haven't touched food all day. That type of thing. Continuous, contrasters, and then cause and effect. So as a result, consequently, thus, these are cause and effect transitions. You don't have to think about these 3 categories every time you do a transition question, but I'd say on like 60% of the questions, they are clarifying. And so as I look at question 9, for example, A, B, and C are all contrasters, and nothing in this paragraph would set up contrast. So it just makes it even clearer that we're going to go for D, which is not a contraster. So 3 types of transitions: continuous, contraster, cause, and effect. And on transition questions, you want to cover the answers, cross out the transition word in the passage, and read enough above and below to put in your own word that would make sense there, and then check the answers. Similar technique you're going to use, by the way, on vocab and context questions, which we'll get to later. You know what? Let's just make that the video. It's going to be transition questions. That's how you do it. And we'll get to the other types of rhetoric questions in a little bit. All right, look out for those transition questions. They're pretty common. I think they're like 4 or 5% of the test.